Hello, a very good afternoon to you. This is Dr. Bheri Ramsarran, the traditional host of, or the established host of Getting It Right. But as you see today, we have with us somebody who will be sharing the program with me, and we will be discussing, as you'll see the topic coming up just now, the operator will punch it in, election matters. Our election matters, and the main issue being the claims and objection period that is now being rolled out. We had a few days back started, and any controversy about it, any queries you may have. I have with me, of course, Dr. Stanley Anthony Vivian Paul. Now, Dr. Paul, introduce yourself properly, because you got so much qualifications, I might mix them up. Go ahead.
No, just
Tell our viewers what, within a little 30 seconds, who is Dr. Paul?
Well, first and foremost, thanks for having me again on your program. As Dr. Ramsarran said, my name is Stanley Anthony Vivian Paul. I hold a PhD in management from a grade A Indian University, top university. I have MBA, EMBA, and an MSc, all in management.
Okay, and you have your activities continue in the area of teaching management skills,
Yes,
or personal management skills to Guyanese students.
Correct.
Okay, so you have also the teaching aspect of it.
Mm-hmm.
You are actually
associate professor and.
Okay, so all right. So as we understand it, you have some classes you used to conduct in the.
At Critchlow? Yeah. Well, I own and operate used to own and operate my college at Critchlow Liberal College. Since the last program, I've been going through some harassment by Critchlow. Yeah.
Oh, so you have like how they use the trade union itself would have classes there. You used to have an arrangement.
Yeah, I rent facility to do classes and office, and actually I run my own college within Critchlow Liberal College that is
triple. You're just using their premises.
Yes, that is triple accredited. But since my heavy involvement with the People Progressive Party, I've been experiencing some hostility to the extent that my whole operation has been disrupted.
Okay, well,
it broke the glasses, it took out the light, they remove all the lights.
That's going to be a topic of another program, right? But what I'd like to mention quickly is the present government has advertised or announced that they're also using it for classrooms for nursing.
Oh, the nursing, yes.
But I want to tell you that. I wanted the public to know this. This is nothing new. That was an invention, a creation, an initiative that was taken under my ministry, yes, on the Ministry of Health, and it was under my watch when when the Jagdeo government had expanded massively, quickly, the training of nurses, medics, doctors. Remember, almost 500 doctors students went to Cuba to study medicine, and many of them are back serving, the so-called Jagdeo scholars. So the big boast that the present regime, the APNU FC, PNC regime of Granger and Nagamutu, is the one or the entity which enforced or introduced, should I say, nursing classes using the Critchlow Liberal College, is not accurate. And it's a good facility. It's well made. It's the vision for the classrooms, the corridors, the washroom facilities are excellent. And my ministry took advantage of that. Like, of course, I did my Ministry of Health when I was there a few years back. As Minister of Health, we took over the building in Kingston. The present nursing school in Kingston is not the property of the Ministry of Health. It's the property of another ministry, but as it became vacant, we just moved in. I came, I saw, I needed, I took. Right? You got a lot of little Caesars around the place. So I want to congratulate you for that initiative, using a space that and it comes back to the idea, Remember the Queen's College, way back?
Oh, Dr. Jason.
Do you remember the University of Guyana did not have its own campus? Did you know that? Did you know that Guyanese might think the University of Guyana was always born and bred and raised and became matured at Turkine? Incidentally, that is why the PNC at one stage, when they were in opposition in the early years of the University of Guyana, they used to refer to it as what? Jagan Night School. And you know why? Because there was no campus. And the classes for the university, as you reminded me earlier, were held at the premises of the Queen's College.
The facilities were shared facilities.
Exactly. So that's something like that you're doing with Critchlow.
Exactly.
Okay. And let's wrap up that bit of the discussion. In those years, the adult population would go to Queen's College in the evenings, and in the evenings it became a university, but it's the same building, right? And because it was a school, secondary school, it was looked down upon by the opposition then. That if you wanted to become a university trained scholar, you got to go to England, you got to go to America. Jagan said no, we can't afford it. we can't afford to have a campus initially in the first years. So in 1959, one of his ministers, C.V. Nunes, who has a school in Essequibo named after him, presented a paper in 1959 which said that the university can start even without a campus, right? So, but that's, by the way, that's how the term Jaganite School came over, and now it's much vaunted. They're proud to go to University of Guyana and so on, but that's a discussion for another theme. Now, Dr. Paul is here with us to discuss or to share some views, because he has been working with teams on which I was also a member in the field, especially in places like Sophia, meeting people, sharing out information about the upcoming elections and the various stages and so on, and checking house to house. So let's look at it now. There's a little bit of controversy. There's a period that has now arisen, right? A period that has been much known in the electoral system, claims and objections. When you can make a claim that somebody is either illegally there, and you have to present certain justified or reasoned arguments why the name should be taken off the list, or this person, including yourself or somebody else, is not on the list and should be included. In other words, claims and objections. You're claiming that you should be there, and at the same time you're objecting that. So let's do a quick run through it, right? What are your first take on it?
Well, the thing about it, my first take is that I'm grateful that finally reached that hurdle, and I hope the PP will make maximum use of this opportunity, because you remember when the illegal house registration began and we didn't participate in it. So the PNC and the other coalitions party made full use of it. So.
And it might be crooked.
But
just let me copy my mirror there. I added some corner there. Right. Yes, you might have to refer to this.
Now might be crooked. It's crooked because the thing about it, one of the requirement is that the process must be scrutinized by other political parties. So the PVP wasn't invited to participate. So it's questionable. It's
right. So that's and it's a questionable, expensive undertaking. Waste of guidance.
That they were trying unsuccessfully to get merged with the current list. So I think the fact that we didn't participate in our previous process, we should make use of this opportunity now. Everybody should try to get anybody that they know that becomes eligible to get registered, because if you don't register, you can't participate in the thing. And areas that our scrutineer should look at areas where persons, we find this in where the list is bloated with questionable and suspicious persons. I don't really want to say like from wherever, but thing about it, they should have a look at it and scrutinize it and object.
In other words, it's a period that we can rectify certain
persons that they believe are not eligible but somehow find themselves on the list and so forth. Our scrutineer should really be vigilant in resisting it.
Okay, and during the program, you'll see the Mirror newspaper, the front page coming up as it's become over the past several months. You'll see that gives a guideline of the discussion of what we should also be doing nationally in your homes, in your little shops, at workplaces. Every Thursday, the leader of the opposition, Dr. Jagdeo, has a press briefing in his office at 1 o'clock, and that's the next source of good information, and it comes up, it's reflected from time to time, or almost every weekend, in the Mirror newspaper. So the Mirror newspaper, as you've seen this weekend's or the last weekend's edition, closely reflects the views of the People's Progressive Party, and as you said, it says at the bottom, get registered. You do whatever it is to get registered, and if you observe any flaw in the system, you can report it to Freedom House or your party activists in the area. But the point is, do not fall asleep, do not be sidetracked, be an active participant in any activity by the GCOM in your community, knowing what's going on, and at the same time taking part, or at the same time exposing any fraudulent things you could think about it. Because you must remember that not GCOM as a system that might be doing it. You have mischievous elements who might be in the system trying to derail things, right? But so far as we know it now, elections are supposed to be due by
the 2nd of
March, right? Okay. But while we were coming up, I had the discussion with some other people, and they're saying, how do we know, how does the PPP know, how does the Guyanese people know that some excusing will be made to put it off? The second that comes up or near to is appearing on the horizon, and then there's some other excuse. Remember, in 1990, Chedi Jagan had to give up 2 years. Remember, elections were due on the 9th of December 1990, but because of the poorness of the list, the impurity of the list, Jagan decided to say, okay, let's fix the list first, then we'll go to elections. And when did elections happen? In 1992, October the 5th, right? So 2 years were lost, but Chedi said it's better to have us lose the time. He didn't expect it to be so much. But then when we contest the elections, it would be on a list that is good and reasonable. Right? So we're back to that stage where the list is being queried, and we want you to be vigilant. So the telephones are already opened. My cell phone number is there too. You can start calling in. We'll open the telephone lines from the very beginning of this program. It's so important to hear your views, and you tell us what's going on in your community, what the GCOM is doing, what you're hearing, and so on, so that we don't have rumor-mongering, but we can address it here on this program. And if we don't have all the answers, take it back to Freedom House and bring you the answers some other time.
Dr. Ramsarran, if I may answer the question now, how do we know? Though I know that the PNC is no stranger to rogue maneuvers in terms of deferring or postponing or delaying the elections, I think the fact that the inordinate delay has brought the international community.
Let me take a call. Hello, welcome to you. This is Getting It Right.
Hello, good afternoon.
Okay, speak up, please.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Thanks for coming through.
All right, you see this country running good? What more I want to defend this country?
All right. Well, okay. Well, that's your the country's running. Well, let's hear what other viewers say. What's the second point?
It's time is up, but go to bed.
Okay. So we have a caller coming through bold and saying the country's running well. Well, probably. It depends on what you call
opinion. I think, yes, as I was saying, Dr. Ramsarran, the thing about it, what happened is that the inordinate delay has tested the nerve for the international community, and as a result of which they have pronounced it on the matter. The coalition has given certain assurance, the likes of which they can't renege. You see, when they give assurance to the international community, it's vastly different to giving the assurance to the People Progressive Party or the Guyanese. They're afraid of the international community.
I think we need some backup microphone. I had one in the corner here. Let me pull it over. Sorry, Doc.
Yeah, they're afraid of the consequence that will follow from the international community. Simple things like visa revocation and all this kind of stuff.
So the international community has tools that they can put
yes,
pressure on
so having said that, I'm convinced that the 2nd of March is it.
Okay, so you're very hopeful. Let's see what the viewers say. Hello, welcome to Getting It Right.
Hi, good day.
Good day. Go right ahead.
I wanted to call this living Guyana that just called, because if everything is going on, maybe it's just for him.
All right. Lower your volume just a wee little bit, please.
Yes.
Go right ahead. Go right ahead.
This is just my contribution.
Okay, well, he's entitled to his views, and as long as he's not.
No, but it's like blind people.
Yeah.
You know?
But he's a regular. He calls in every now and then, right? And to tell that viewer, again, they call in, and what sometimes they're trying to do is make noise in the background or leave on the phone to take away the time and the quality of the program. So I'm happy that we did the second caller did point that out.
I would like to back to the opening statement. We talk about the importance of participating in the claim and objection process. Whilst it is no secret that the People Progressive Party under Dr. Jagdeo have a well-oiled machinery, because of the crucial and criticalness of this election, which we consider to be the mother of all elections, I urge all PPP supporters to get involved and just don't leave everything to the party. If they got resources, they know people they should go around. We have formal system and formal arrangement where we have scrutineers going around and so forth. But the bad thing is that our supporters shouldn't just leave it to the formal system.
Take an active interest.
And a physical interest too, because they might even know more things than us because they're on the ground.
Of course.
Right? So if they know anybody who becomes eligible and should be on the list and so forth, provide the resources and do it as your duty to.
Hello, welcome to Getting It Right.
Hello, good afternoon. Yeah, the previous caller said that the country is being run well, but I'm in complete disagreement with that, because different people benefited differently from this government. So I'm one of those persons who did not benefit maximum as probably the previous caller.
Okay, well, let's hope that we can expand this discussion and hope other persons of your view might call in and give other opinions too, okay?
Yeah. Well,
Thanks.
Okay.
Thank you.
yeah. So we're calling on our supporters to play an active role, and as I said before, don't mind that we have a well-oiled machinery, and they should play an active role.
Any
and
help is needed.
Any help is
At the
needed and
community level.
appreciated at the
Well,
community
for
level.
example, I think it's you were making this point when we were having coffee sometime, that with other few people, that they can simply do this. Know of an 18-year-old or somebody who's just become 18 years old. And those people sometimes are timid, they're scared of the official process. Take them, hold their hands and walk them through the process so that every 18-year-old is registered and know where they have to vote.
Yes, and become eligible to vote, because if you're not, well, it goes without saying, if you're not registered, you can't participate in the exercise.
Or if you're registered but you've moved to another far-off location, it's a utopian dream to say, I will get up on election day, catch a minibus and travel miles back where I was registered to vote. Please help,
The
especially.
logistics sometimes mightn't be possible.
And the minibuses might not be running.
Yeah.
Right? So I want you to note that particularly we highlighted, myself and Dr. Paul, a little group of the population, those young people who have now become first-time voters. You need to encourage them, get them to go and get the process checked, and so you're certain tick done. And then encourage them and see that they keep their ID cards safe and so on, so that whenever the elections come, they're able to exercise that civic duty of voting.
And even simple things like our supporters, our supporters command the control commanding rights of this economy and so forth in terms of commerce, right? They should give time to people for let the people can get the time to go and sort themselves out in terms of registration, and provide whatever resources is necessary to help.
In other words, you're saying that there's some people who will be willing to get registered or go and do business with GCOM at the local level, but they're working.
Yes.
So you're saying that a conscientious owner of a business, if he wants to see the process go forward, he should arrange for them to have some little supervised time off.
Yes, but I would rather yes, if he wants to see the process go forward, but the process for our benefit. I mean, I don't want to play games, right? We don't care if they don't go register. This is their business.
But that's just
but for we, the focus should be on our people.
Probably we shouldn't be saying some of these things then, man, so that the other side. Anyhow, so the idea
they're
is
not so organized. I know everything about them. They're not so organized and not committed.
So what you're saying, everyone at every level of the society can make a tangible contribution to this process. In other words, we must not become obsessive with it, or obsessed, but at the same time we must focus mainly or strategically on elections.
Yes,
Because
this is a mother of all elections. This election will determine. So, for instance, like even direct cash transfer, that the coalition, ironically, the coalition seems to have some serious problem with.
Yeah.
Who win the election will determine all those things that will transform people's life.
And at the same
in
time,
meaningful way.
other recent experiences just after the last elections should spring forth now. For example, automatically, immediately, suddenly, the PNC ministers and the PNC cabinet give themselves 100% raise in salary. Remember that?
Yeah.
So we call them the fat cats. They
I
used to
call them super cat. They make themselves into super cats.
So they are accustomed to doing things so secretively, and they signed
the 80
million document with a foreign company, and if the
state money was a state secret.
Yes, and
they
if
treat it as a state secret when it's the state resources.
And it's the media which was able to discover it, the independent media, and of course the PPP. And otherwise, we would not have known that $18 million was already stashed away in some little jar, not in the official banking system, and so on. So these are things you have to look at when Dr. Paul encourages you to come out and tell us, be vigilant now. The word we need is to be vigilant. Everything that GCOM does must be scrutinized. You need to be polite. When they come to your gate, if you're going to do a process with them, a transaction, do it politely. No custom, even if I don't think that would be contributing to the process.
And they should help us too with the objection part. The first part was the claim part, where they will help us in terms of any person becomes eligible, they would take a special interest and so forth, in addition to our effort. But the objection part too, sometimes you might be living in a community and you saw a name on the list, but you know this person is not Guyanese by birth or descent. And this person has been around for about 4 or 5 months and therefore not eligible and shouldn't be on the list. So we want to pay emphasis, we want you to look at that too and help us too, because as I said before, even though we have a well-oiled machinery, you people are on the ground and sometimes you tend to know more than us.
Yes.
So don't be shy, take
if
it
you were
on
to-
as your responsibility and your duty to get involved.
Exactly. If we fast forward a little bit, over the next few days, I think Mr. Granger, President Granger, with a team is going to be in Linden. I think this weekend.
Yeah,
is
I
it,
think
right?
today, yeah.
Right, this weekend. But of course, the PPP has been going there regularly.
Yeah, we just come out from
came
it,
as routinely, right? So there seemed, and then there was the Lawrence statement on Sophia. Remember when Sophia did not give them as much support to the last elections as they expected? That Sophia was territory belonging to the PNC APNU. They rebuked Sophia and they said they will go back and fight to Sophia. So apparently they're also nervous about Linden. This is good news for the Democratic forces, because the whole team is going up to Linden, and we suspect that they will start sharing out little tips, little incentives, right? So let's look at it. And we have a firm base in Linden. We were there up to recently in Linden, Kwakwani, Aituni, and especially in Linden we spent several days with leaders of the party. And there was not a single cuss down at anybody's gate, or everybody in Linden were polite. They accepted our flyers, and they are calling on us to take a more active role in not only the Linden community, but outlying communities that are satellites to Linden. So we're doing good in Linden, and we want to say hi to Linden from this forum, and at the same time we'll be there. And don't be fooled by the visits by the president. There's suddenly the coalition is visiting to Linden after forgetting them for several years, right? But then there are other areas that you can speak about. For example, teachers, policemen, members of the military.
But Andyville too, where I was in Linden 2 days, well, on the recent,
3 days back.
In Andyville, when I was following it, well, actually, is Dr. Jagdio who caused the coalition to jealous interaction with Andyville, because the people in Andyville have been complaining for about 2 or 3 years about the neglect and so they made contact with Dr. Jagdio, and he assured them he would go and visit, and the information probably leaked through the tap in a phone or wherever. But next thing you know, when we were about to go there, the coalition had beaten us by a couple hours a day, and they went up.
They dropped everything and ran into the area.
Ran. But the thing about it, to my surprise, when we went back there this same week, when we went back there, it's just a facade. What they did run some poles and so. But in terms of the meter and water to the households and things, the people still complain. I have several recordings where people complain and they're asking, and they say they can't wait till the PP get back in power because they don't even with this farce.
In other words, the PNC and APNU AFC is in a knee-jerk reaction.
Yeah.
So they rushed into that little section of Linden because of the complaints that were being lodged at the office of the leader of the opposition, Church Street, and they realized that the PPP was getting more and more leverage. Right. Okay. Now there are other things we got to look at. For example, there's a lot of, so that they help the public out there and they don't become confused with all that GCOM is doing, and some of it above board, some of it the party can't contest and so on. For example, the recent house registration, there was a big furor about it, and then suddenly when the new chairperson came in, the Madam Judge Singh, it was put on hold. It was not put on, stopped on the 31st of last month. So things are happening quickly and confusingly, and we're looking forward to the better management of the process by the new chairperson. Right, so those are things that are hopeful, right? But there are also some other distressing and threatening signs. You were trying to develop some of them, things that we should be looking out for. You mentioned some, for example, GCOM workers coming wrong and not doing their job correctly and generating a flawed list. And one of your points was the main point, that we should be interested in any list being posted in a community.
Yes.
Scrutinize it, look around it, right? And if you need advice, the telephone numbers are here, and you can call us and let us know. And Freedom House in each location, each region. Freedom House in Linden, Freedom House in Berbice, Freedom House in over the river, region 2. They're all manned, and there's a special office at Georgetown Central Office of Freedom House, which works almost daily. It works daily, almost around the clock. So that's information that you can easily seek out guidance. You pick up the phone and call the numbers. And of course, my cell number is very available. Call me anytime, including now, and we will give you advice or point you to or if we can't, or we don't have the answers right away, we will definitely see that Freedom House gets the question that you would have raised. Now, let's look at it. Ensuring fair election must be the focus forward. That's what the Mirror newspaper is shouting. You see there again. And at the same time, it points out at for a higher section, actions of rogue elements at GCOM Secretariat could cause loss of credibility. So we have here again, right at the top level of the party, it's being thrown out there that we have very severe reservations about the activities of certain, not all, but certain elements of the what Jagdeo calls rogue elements.
Yeah, because
I like the term rogue elements.
The commission passing one instruction and the secretariat doing another.
Yes, so you need to be conscious now. Don't say, oh, we got 6 months more till elections, and then when towards elections you will get active. Elections is a long planned process that has several stages. We are now at the stage of having a proper list scrutinized, created under scrutiny. So you too have to be part, as a Guyanese citizen, part of that activity, and don't wait until election day comes and then you say, oh, here I have my ID card, I'm going to vote. So you might not be on the list sometimes. Right?
Yeah.
So you have to be
Sure.
involved now, right? And back again, and you might want to comment on this, the 18-year-olds, those persons who are nervous, they're now becoming young, they're now young adults, they now have the right to vote, a sacred right, but they might still be timid. And sometimes when they go, you live in certain communities, when you go across to the GCOM office, you might feel intimidated. Young people are like that, right? So we got to take a special interest in this. Let's share this call. Hello, welcome to Getting It Right. Hello? Okay, obviously that call was either not prepared, but we're willing to please call back again. We're quite happy to have you. And remember, when you're calling in, the operator is signaling to me you need to lower your volume, otherwise it will give that screeching sound and spoil the quality of your contribution. So further, the claims and objection period is on. What are some of the pitfalls we can look at?
For the claims and objection period?
Yes. First of all, the main one is some people might not, as we're saying, take it seriously enough. They might think, oh, so much days are there, I'll do it tomorrow, I'll do it the next day. You need to get involved as soon as possible so that you can find out and pinpoint to us those mistakes, those errors.
Corrective action can be taken if anything.
Yes, taken in a
sometimes
timely
you might
fashion.
even have to take some legal action or something.
Yeah,
depends on the peculiar situation.
Yes, and I think one of our lawyers and leadership of the party, Nandalal, is focusing on these issues and of course the legal fraternity generally have an interest in, regardless of their political background. By the nature of their profession, they are always dotting the I's, crossing T's, looking for the mistakes. Okay, therefore you see, that's another approach. If you bring the information forward, or the findings of neglect of duty, neglect of the active mischief, you have to bring it to our attention, right? And the numbers on the screen can be used anytime, especially my cell number. I don't see the cell number there, 6238696. You can call me anytime and bring up these issues. And at the same time, I'd like to tell you that the elections office at the People's Progressive Party headquarters at 41 Rob Street in Georgetown is active from around 8:30 right until 9:10 in the night, and you can contact us there by simply dropping by. There's May, a very active young lady, or Marcel, and they will definitely give you some guidance. Now, let's turn to some other issues, right? The flyer that the operator will be bringing up shortly, I think he has a copy, is the latest flyer that we've been using, and it gives some guidance.
Yeah, we use those
right?
in Linden.
This we've just come out of Linden, and we spent a few days there. Several teams, including of course Bishop Edgel, who has some acquaintance with the community in Linden. And the flyer says that the operator will bring it up. Hopefully, Guyanese wake up. Our government sold us out to foreigners and the oil companies. Right, 1% recoverable loyalty in the contract signed by Trotman equals zero royalty. In other words, we must remember the secrecy surrounding that activity, and we must always be asking ourselves, why should there be secrecy of such a concerning such a huge volume of money? So, and the aspect of local content. Of course, the companies are saying they will do it, and we probably would want to accept that. But you need to have concrete indication what it's meant. For example,
You need to have enforceable
exactly,
arrangements.
exactly, yeah, and that's publicly done. So it's publicly done. You
Yeah.
can't back from it,
No.
right? You know what I observed? I recall there was a very good seminar posted by the company and the government at Pegasus. I think it's Pegasus or Marriott a few months ago, just as after this, around the time of the signing. And it was said that we will be having from 80 to 200 Guyanese employed. 80 to 200. Because in contrast to Trinidad, you will not be having hundreds of platforms out in the waters. It's so deep that you'll be having just one or two. Whereas in Trinidad, if you look across, you see sometimes the whole horizon is covered by. So each platform where I think you call it a derrick or something like that, wherever they're drilling to get the oil, you will have several dozen workers on several hundred platforms. In Guyana, the platforms will be few. So this was a clear indication, a clear, not admission, a clear pronouncement by the leaders of the company at the very first seminar involving leaders of the Guyanese government and opposition. That is the parliamentarians and advisors and permanent secretaries, I think, were invited to that meeting hosted by the government and the oil company. And they said clearly, I remember it, and if anybody wants to challenge this information, I'm willing to hear your challenge and discuss it. From 80 to 200 workers of Guyanese origin, local workers, would benefit. Right? So we need to look at that. Direct employment might not be, with local content aspect might not be as big as you think about it, although there will be other aspects of local content, like companies supplying certain things. It's rumored that, or it's even visible that some companies, especially on the waterfront, are actually upgrading. So those are positive things, but the actual local content in money getting in ordinary people's pockets, right? And then, of course, what is the role of Trinidad? Trinidad has oil experience for about 100 years, right? Do we think a company with wishing to maximize profits would come and start creating that capacity right here in Guyana, whereas they can simply go across a little few hours away from the platforms to Trinidad and have a wealth, 100 years of experience? Those are things that Guyanese should know, right? It doesn't mean that Trinidad would be fighting us down. It just means that that's the reality of the situation, and you should get it down.
That's why you need enforceable arrangement so the local content could make sense. Other than that, it wouldn't make any sense.
Yes, and then this whole aspect of bringing the gas to shore to allow for the generation of electricity and for distributing to local homes. Right, that again, the company and at the symposium so many months ago indicated is almost a pipe dream, because it's not just running a little piece of pipe or a hose. It's way down below the ocean. They got the structure, the different structures down there and so on, the geography rather. So we got to be careful, and although the government is now starting to make certain pronouncements more and more public after they were exposed, after Trotman and company were exposed with the 18 million US secret signing, those things sometimes lack depth and lack information that can allow Guyanese to digest it and come to certain conclusions. Now, the same flyer, which I hope the operator will bring up shortly, says Guyanese will have to pay back billions in pre-contract expenses and many more obligations. You've seen it there, right? So you might not be knowing it, but the part of the secret agreement that was signed, and which we should now be analyzing, and this program will be analyzing within the next few weeks, is that Guyanese will have to be paying back billions in pre-contract expenses. In other words, the company was able to wrestle out a concession which says that not only will we be drilling for oil, but we drilling and we looking for this and doing these exploratory stages at your expense. It's only that you don't have the money now, you'll have the money when oil starts flowing, so we are giving you, it's almost like a loan from the company to the government, that when oil starts to flow.
It's like we give them a blank check
Right.
that they could write where they want, when they want, how they want. That's crazy.
Okay, so I noticed we missed, I think it's 2 calls were coming up. Did I see it flashing? So the cell phone is still there, and we can probably now ask the operator to see if he can locate the numbers for the office at Freedom House. Is 227-2095, 227-2095, Freedom House Central Office number, and they will direct you to the elections office downstairs if you have direct queries to the elections office. Now, as I was pointing out, we have been APNO AFC relations under increasing strain. Granger knocks down Ramjatan's selection as prime ministerial candidate. So that's another aspect we got to look at. Let's turn a little bit to that. The status of the coalition, the difficulties that are rising among them, the pressures that are coming. Moses, for example, wanting to be of a particular office, and he get a little resistance. Ramjatan, is there conflict between Ramjatan and Moses? Is there conflict between AFC and PNC, up to AFC? What do you think?
Well, the thing about it, this unfoldment is part of a normal and natural process that usually happens whenever you're about to make this decision. But the thing about with Mr. Granger, he's a kind of strategic, calculating type of fellow. He's not an impulsive type of person. He's very slow in terms of making decisions. And the AFC doesn't have anything that is compelling for them that will force him to give any initial commitment. So he just keeping his cards open, which you can't blame him for that. That's how I see it.
That's right. So the AFC got themselves into a little jam. And now
they got to become political lightweight. They have no credibility with the electorate. It's like more or less they become like the WPA, which is a 5-man political party. They probably 2 busload and that.
Right. Sorry for the coughing. It's we've been at it. The visit to Linden, we did a lot of talking on the streets and so on. Now, so the coalition itself seems to be in crisis. There seems to be confusion in the coalition, confusion in the cabinet. Sometimes taking the different messages being taken by different members of the cabinet. Recently, we saw the embarrassment with Dr. Karen Cummins in Geneva, I think it was. I don't know if you've noticed this, but probably later down the line, the operator might be able to pull it up. Karen Cummins, Dr. Karen Cummins, a medical doctor by profession, and having some other postgrad training, actually was referring to the Guyanese situation and boldly and brazenly and openly and quite correctly referred to President Danger. President Danger, right? And of course she corrected herself. But these little slips of the tongue, right?
Yeah, it's psychological.
It was so embarrassing. Here it is, our Foreign Affairs Minister, Minister of Foreign Affairs, going up to the podium with massive, where United Nations make pronouncements, where for days, sometimes the whole world, the leadership is meeting, and actually refers to the president as President Danger, right? That's significant, right?
Yeah, significant to the point that I believe it's some sort of lurking thing behind the scene.
Something you thought it was deliberate or mistake?
Unconsciously so.
Okay, a slip, right?
Yes, yes, I would settle for that.
Okay, but that was on the lighter side. But this just goes to show sometimes, it's probably some people should state the things that they know. Tablets and medicines and helping babies and mothers and so on. And, I wonder what Mr.
She made a crucial statement too upon the direct cash transfer as well too.
Okay.
It's under, she says, under consideration.
Yes, I think probably
she talk about the reforestate as handout. The president prefer to give people education and a fish. So most of the pronouncement, with all due respect, she has never struck me to be a controversial person. So
no,
I don't want to be
real
disrespectful.
She's not controversial. She's quiet. She's polite.
But most of the pronouncement, to me, it's sort of benighted, really.
Yeah. That's unfortunate for Dr. Cummins. I almost said Karen because sometimes we're medical practitioners together.
Because she was saying that we prefer to give education, fish, and sort of benighted. Because I think maybe that was so because I think she tried to box herself in of not being in conflict with Mr. Granger's position, but you can't defend the indefensible.
Okay, so that's just a little aside. We were embarrassed as a country by one of our main ministers, the Minister of Foreign Affairs, making a pronouncement from a very high-level forum in the international community, saying that, referring to our president as President Danger. And of course, many Guyanese in the street corners, in the little drinking areas and so on, are having a rollicking time laughing at that. But let's move on. We have with us Dr. Stanley Anthony Vivian Paul, who is a pedagogue, I can say, because he's passing on education in the area of sciences of management, and your operations up to recently was located at spaces you used to rent from Critchlow Level.
Yeah, it's still there because it's still there for all intents and purpose.
Okay.
They try to put me out, but they can't put me out. I have a lease.
A legal document.
Yes, and my rent is up to date. And then remember, we have courts,
So I'm just trying to mention to you that more and more people of substance are being attracted to the PPPC agenda, and here we have one of the more recent addition, Dr. Paul himself here, and of course he says that he is being harassed because of his association, his legitimate
Public
association with the PPPC. Right. Let's see if this caller has something to add to that discussion.
There's a guy.
Hello, welcome to Getting It Right. Hello.
This is the same guy.
Okay, well, on the cell phone we can see the numbers, right? So he's wasting his time on his call, right? We'll invite him to come and have a discussion. As long as he doesn't use invectives or
strategy really to block up the
lines.
lines. That's what it is.
Okay, so let's come back to some things a bit more mundane, a bit more local. The campaign, the PPPC is out there from so many months in their red T-shirts, and you've been part of it. Now, we are not seeing the PNC, UPNU AFC, save and except in the media. And tomorrow, is it today they're going to Linden?
Today.
So Guyanese should be wanting to know, why are these people who increase their salaries, their salaries as ministers and advisors for the cabinet, suddenly by 100%?
Change your phone numbers.
Yes, exactly.
Wind up the windows.
Yes, right. Why are they not visible in the public? Why are they not visiting their communities, right? And so we're hoping that the Linden community will be anxiously awaiting their arrival, so that you can give them the right questions and give them a good welcome with the queries that many of the things that you have raised with us when the PPP team was there in Linden a few days ago. We were there for several days. Then you can raise these questions. For example, when are you going to start getting back the $10,000 for each child, with the $10,000 subsidy or support that the PPPC government was giving you? If they're expecting so much money, and if they're so compassionate, why did they scrap it? What is the money being used to do?
And what they put in place, they put nothing in place of it.
And besides that, when you accumulate all of these $10,000 for all the students and pupils and children, it comes up to a nice fat sum. What happened to that money? Where is it being redirected? And then I think you or some other person who was bringing up this discussion, if that money was taken back and it's in the treasury, why did they have to increase the number of products that is now vatable? VAT has been extended to some 200 other products beyond those which the PPPC administration had put a VAT value-added tax on. So it seems to be a contradiction. They've taken back money from the students, and not only that, they've taken back money from the old heads. You might want to comment on that one. The one for the electricity and water for pensioners, right? So those are humongous. It sounds a small amount when you look at it as the individual, but when you add it up, I think it's 48,000 or almost 50,000 pensioners who might have been benefiting. When you add that up, and when you realize that it's over a period of time, it becomes a huge sum. Where are those monies? Where are those monies? Why, for example, the policemen, and you were raising this one with me sometime back, we discussed it. Why were the policemen and other women and other members of the discipline services suddenly denied their year-end bonus? Remember, under the Jagdeo administration started, they would get a year-end bonus in the form of a month's salary. They
criticize it, but they didn't replace it with anything.
Right. So you might want to quickly share some comments on that, on those three things, the things that are taken away but nothing returned.
They don't replace it.
And where's the money?
Yeah. But you see, the coalition strategy of revenue generation is really taxation. So them increasing the VAT, spreading the reach of the VAT to 200 new items is not surprising, because they are all about taxation. They don't have any capacity to generate revenue by any commercial activity.
Okay, out of that discussion, you had also pointed in this way. There's no major new project that the PNC, UPNU, AFC, Granger, Nagamutu, Ramjitan government has put on the table. Look at the roadworks. I think as you were calling out there today. The roadworks that are going on now, They are massive, they're good, they'll be good for Guyana, but not a single one was negotiated or
There's
renegotiated.
PPP, yeah.
It's PPP projects that have started under us, right? Some of the issues that was holding up the projects, especially on the East Bank, was the utilities that had facilities along the road, like poles, wires, and cables and so on. So that's another point. Not a single new project has been created, invented, thought up, presented by the new administration since the last elections. They're all carrying on things that were there. The money is the hard part of the job, getting the monies, getting the design of the project, working out the nitty-gritty with contractors and so on, the tender process, were all done. So we need to be careful, because I noticed that the government is using some of these things almost as manifesto achievements.
Yeah.
And incidentally, speaking about the manifesto, the PPPC is in the process of compiling this manifesto. It's not a secret document, but we of course have some very beautiful ideas there, and we do not want them to become bastardized or stolen. So it's not made public as yet, but I assure you there's a very powerful team from all sectors: health, education, housing, water, security, and so on, who are making their contributions under the watchful eye of Dr. Jagdeo, who of course is was Minister of Economics, he's an economist, right? And he was a Minister in Finance, so he has all the wealth of knowledge. So those are things that we want to highlight, bring out to your attention, and some others you had wanted to point out to us. Some of the simple things that we used to be doing. For example, the banning the entertainment at 2 o'clock in the morning. Though these are you are somebody who's telling me probably that is the only new thing that they brought to the table.
Yeah.
Right? They didn't build more roads, they didn't design more schools, they didn't introduce new hospitals.
The age limit on the importation of vehicles.
Yeah, but probably we can
tires.
develop that aspect of the discussion.
Yeah. Everything they do is retrograde. They haven't done anything that is progressive. Anything that they have done is oppressive and frivolous.
Mm-hmm.
In terms of making public policy has to be made not in a vacuum of ignorance, but there has to be some sort of balance.
Okay, so we've established that they've done some of the main things they've done. They established a 2 a.m. curfew. That's one thing they did. They added taxes, VAT, value-added tax called VAT in a shortened form, to 200 more items. They took away the stipend from the old people, the $10,000 a month, which was supposed to help old people pay for electricity and water. And at the same time,
Replace
they took
it with
away
nothing,
right? So they probably replaced it with more discipline, that you got to go home 2 o'clock in the morning at latest, right? So these are some of the confusing aspects in the cabinet. Now, what other aspects of cabinet confusion, do you want to bring forward? We were having some lighter discussion sometime even while you were in Linden, and some of these issues were coming up. Some of the things that you seem to be identifying as confusion in the cabinet. You want to probably expand on that?
Well, the thing about this, I would like to look at the teachers. The teachers are the public servant, if you like. When they were in opposition, and the teachers were being given reasonable offers and so forth, they had some serious issues with it. So it comes as a big surprise to me now when the teachers asking for things that they themselves previously claimed were just and reasonable, they can't fulfill. They keep dancing them around and running them and hoping that, time will run out with it.
Like certain incentives the teachers were.
Simple things like, and this guy Light and Coretta McDonald have been very flexible with them. I don't know whether it was a kid and kid, but they've been very flexible with them, and even to that, there's still the government not even trying to meet them half or quarter the way.
Okay, so teachers is a big category of worker in the government paid workforce, and not only that, they have a multiply effect, because what they do now or don't do now at this stage of their lives,
they mold the nation according to
they would either create good students or bad students who will become our administrators or doctors or lawyers or leading intellectuals in the future. So you're right. The teachers are a special subgroup. They might look small in number, but the impact is disproportionate to their numbers, right? And so under the PPPC, not only the military and the discipline services were given special attention, but teachers, because they are the caregiver, they're the second hand on the cradle. The mom's hand is the first one on the cradle. The second one is the teacher, bringing up the youngsters to create a new generation of brain power. So we want to, at this stage, probably call your attention to that. Want to empathize with the teachers who have been given a raw deal. There were certain incentives the PPP had put in place that no longer exist, and we, of course, all these things when the PPP comes back to office, there's going to be a lot of things where we expected to correct. So we got to be careful too that we, as politicians and commentators and observers, we don't raise the expectations too high. Because the PNC broke up everything now. They give themselves big salaries, they take away all the money from the pensioners, they take away the money from the school children, and so on. Now, how are you going? And you don't know what happened to it. Where is money there? Right?
But another area of confusion too is Gaisuko, because on one hand, they're claiming that they were looking at ways and means to diversify Gaisuko's operation. And then on the other hand, the very land that you would have to use for the diversification, they're trying to sell it behind the citizens' back. So that's another area of confusion, I would say.
Yeah, that was a bitter experience with sweet sugar, right? Of course, even the PPP accepts and understands, and the wider society understands, that you have to have change in Gaisuko. The COI, the Commission of Inquiry into Gaisuko, which was created and which the members of which were elected or selected by the PNC administration, UPNA administration themselves. That document, which cost how much, $80 million or something, was thrown through the window. I think.
They're doing having these commission of inquiries, and when the result comes out and they don't like it, you never hear back anything
and
about it.
I think Professor Clive Thomas, very respected professor, very respected elder in the Guyanese society, he was a member of that commission, was he not?
Yeah, and it just disappear when all these things are just wasting money.
As you pointed out in an earlier moment, the commission, that COI on Gaisuko and sugar, had recommended no closing of sugar estates. They had recommended alternative uses, or different changes, upgrades, and so on. Right? So it's so surprising, and this is why I want to comment and bring this to the attention of PNC supporters, PNC activists. How can you accept that? You have Professor Thomas, who's very much respected among you, who was given humongous material support and salary and so on to be part of that commission. And when he made the pronouncement, it was thrown through the window. How do you think? Don't you think your leadership, your cabinet is poking you in the eye? They're just making put like Clive Thomas, like a nice old film star. Everybody respects him. But then when he makes pronouncements, you ignore him.
And you don't like it, you just ignore him.
Hello, welcome to Getting It Right. Okay, well, here what you're going to do, lower your volume, and then we're going to have a discussion, right? Okay, so he's saying what was the teacher's salaries when but then you got to ask, how much items are VATted under the PPP at that time? A handful.
But
right?
to me, I reject that type of thinking. I tell you why, because whatever the salary was at that point in time, remember, the coalition had a certain position, right? And that position is what people voted for.
Yes.
So you can't come now and tell people that because it was low or that
it can continue.
Yes, people voted for change,
yes.
Right? You promised people change. So nothing the PEP did before can be justification for the continuation of anything.
Because that's why they allegedly voted for you.
Well, that's the thing.
Remember, there was 9,000. Moses himself, it's reportedly promised $9,000 per bag of rice to the people in Essequibo, the rice farmers, right? Well, of course, you can ask me how much it was under the PPP. It was far less, because the reality is that was the market price that you were getting. But where did Moses get this humongous thing? He just dreamed it up and he decided to come and fool the people.
Yeah, or it was a total fool, because even the appointment of Mr. Holder in itself is clear and convincing evidence that they never had intention of fulfilling anything.
Of pushing agriculture.
Right? Yes, they never had no intention. In fact, Mr. Granger rejected this guy, Cesar, as Junior Minister of Agriculture.
Right, exactly.
They probably would have gotten somewhere. You see, their supporters don't like when you talk these talk, but it's they who tap their own self.
And then there was the issue of Moses again coming. Besides rice, $9,000 per bag. That's what he promised them, and they end up getting sometimes 1,500 or 2,000. That's especially in Essequibo. Now, one of the next things they threw out was that they would be given $20,000.
Look at the little
to the
support,
sugar
not
workers.
cutting you, but look at the little support that Nan Prasad was asking them.
Nansad is the man, one of the big rice
Yes,
producers, exporters, and he didn't get incentives that he.
No.
Okay. I noticed that there's some other things that totally different that shifted by a quick little way. Power, electricity, we still continue to get the blackouts, right? And there are many
more frequent,
and sometimes longer,
Mm.
right? So I see that it's been indicated that we have a few more minutes, and so before we get on, let's touch on electricity, because it was a sore point. And for example, I noticed a very good initiative called from a certain private sector entity, saying that they can produce power for their outfit, for their businesses, and if need be, they can sell any excess to the grid.
Yes,
That's
Mr. Bipa,
yes. So that's a decision that we have to consideration we have to look at.
Mhm.
Is it a little release valve, or is it something? But those are options. But coming back to the bigger question on electricity, the Amila Falls.
Mhm.
That would have been up and running already, and incidentally, Guyana could have been exporting electricity.
But more importantly, I think another part that they haven't looked at too. You see, when you have cheap electricity, it aid in light manufacturing,
Yes.
and especially in those rural areas where you have a lot of indigenous crafts and so forth, can aid
Yes,
in light manufacturing.
and that's how Trinidad does so well, because they can bring a trill, not trill, or some one of these bubbly.
Because the cost of production
is less.
Is less because electricity, which is one of the highest input.
Yeah, I think a sweet drink produced in Trinidad, which has to be transported here, contains
Suriname
gas,
too,
contains
yeah.
sugar, and has to be transported and imported and passed through the whole process of the customs.
And coming Ghana to give successful competition to banks.
No, but it's cheaper than a bottle of Guyanese water.
Yeah.
You know, here it is water. You don't have to add gas. You don't have to add sugar. You don't have to add coloring. You don't have to transport it from across the ocean. But the Trinidad product, and why? Not because the Guyanese manufacture is bad. It's just that the power that they use is too expensive. That is why. And again, I want to talk to especially the younger supporter members of the PNC. That is why the Jagdeo government, and it rolled into the Ramatar government, was pushing the hydropower. Hydropower would have changed all of that, right? Anyhow, I think we have just a few more minutes. Let me give you the final word before we wrap up. We have 2 minutes more.
Well, I would like to digress a little to talk about the direct cash transfer to the citizens, and I believe that Dr. Jagdeo has said something about it, but I believe we should go a little farther and start providing, look at it quickly, and start providing leadership for this whole activity, because I think that is one of the most underestimated issue that can galvanize a lot of the coalition supporters if we say something decisively on the matter.
Okay. Well, thanks to that, I wanted to thank the operator for giving us 30 seconds more. I'm Dr. Ramsarran, and the host for Getting It Right for the several years now. And of course, I had with me in studio Dr. Stanley Anthony Vivian Paul, who of course runs his own college of business college, as it were, training business managers. And he doesn't own a building, but his college is based at the
Kitchener College. Yeah.
So thank you for being here, and very good evening to you. Bye bye. See you next week, Saturday.